Welcome to your weekly channel here on MLK Day. Let's see what Spirit has for us this week. I'm seeing once again this lovely body of water, and it's this deity. It represents Aquarius, the water bearer. And it's sort of standing in the water, and as it stands in the water, it calls everyone to it. So this is interesting. Being in the water with Aquarius represents that eccentric part of us, or that eccentric, that who we are, that goes against the flow. Not against the flow in the sense of pushing against something, going against it in the sense of like they're being called. And as the Aquarius, the water bearer, stands in the water and calls entities, souls, bodies to it, it's like parts of society are coming to sort of like march to the tune of a different drummer. And it's hard because there's society there on the shoreline, and there's our jobs and our responsibilities and all the things that we think life is about, all the things that we think are living. And the Aquarian deity stands in the water and waits for people to come to them. It's sort of like a bit of a Pied Piper vibe, right? So why are we seeing this? What's the point? How does this serve our highest and best good? How do we channel it and bring it into our week? So the Aquarian deity is basically saying, like, if there's a sense of calling that you receive this week, pick up the phone. Sort of like it's time to start picking up the phone. And this might look like for you like something you've always wanted to do, but perhaps, again, when it comes to Aquarius, don't think technology, think different way of thinking. So types of hobbies and insights and things that like maybe aren't considered part of the cool part of society, but things that are a little bit wacky, like Aquarians are the weirdos of the zodiac, right? So it's like, it's gonna feel like drawn to something that feels very counterculture. Perfect term, counterculture. And you're gonna find your hippie side. You're sort of just gonna like be drawn into something this week and be called to something. And it feels like a coming home. It feels like let your freak flag fly, like very much like it's coming home to people who are like you, and this common understanding of what matters and how to push humanity, not push humanity, how to welcome humanity. I get the sense that this call is really quiet, and it's skipping those who need a sledgehammer to get a message from Spirit, and it is picked up by those who have a very refined antenna. So if you found this channel, or if you're doing your own psychic work, you're likely picking up on this energy. It's extremely subtle, and it's a quiet voice. It's not loud, it's not aggressive, it's not you must. It's sort of like, I'm over here in this water. Who wants to come play? Like, who wants to come play? Who wants to come experience what it's like to be in this water with me? And what is in the water for us? Like, when we are drawn to this Aquarian sensibility, what area of our life can we expect to be transformed? So the deity is showing me sort of like the construct of society and buildings and a market in the center and the post office, like all the sort of makings of society. And they're showing just like a washing and a starting anew. But this isn't in the sense of like the structures are still there. The starting anew comes to how we connect to one another, because Aquarian is primarily associated and focused on humanity. So many people look at Aquarius and Pluto being an Aquarius is like, oh my goodness, there's going to be a complete revolution. This revolution feels mental to me, and many people won't even notice or heed the call because they're so focused. They're staring off they're somewhere else. And the folks that are responding have like that fine-tuned antenna to respond, are going to be the people chosen, likely chosen before they came into incarnate, to be part of the transformation. And the transformation looks like it's taking a stock of every element of our society. Why is it that way? How can we improve it? How can we make it more equitable? How can we move together? It's literally like a reshaping that's going on. And it's only by, like, I'm seeing these early stages are, it's only a very, very small fraction of people who are involved initially, because these are people who have strong Aquarius placements, or they know the shift is happening and they're sort of wanting to be a part of it and they're open, right? But I feel like the majority of people are not in the water. Like when I look at the deity in the water, it's them and like maybe a couple other people. And even I'm sort of like one foot in the water, one foot out. I'm sort of like, do I really want to be part? You know what I mean? It's sort of like, this is all very unknown. What else needs to be shown here? What else needs to see and find the light and receive communication to our weeks as we move through our lives? I'm seeing the changeover in administration. I'm in DC. It's no wonder picking up so much energy about that changeover. There's sort of an open book, and it feels like many things are going to be rewritten in these next couple of weeks. There's a sense of fate to all of this, and a sense of fatedness, and how certain things are going to happen. And these things might feel very shocking initially. So they're showing me like the rug being pulled out from under you. So I think the sensation will feel like that for many people, like the rug being pulled out, like all these things that you put your faith in. And it's interesting because like the Aquarius is never a sign that would ever take pride in that. Many other signs would, but not Aquarius, like, because Aquarius is sort of in their own world, right? So they're making this point of like, you know, if you do feel like your rug's been pulled out from under you, then you need a new rug. You need a new foundation. The sense of self and the sense of the seated self and a comfort in oneself and a confidence in oneself should not be and cannot be affected by outside events. Otherwise, you need a new foundation. They're just making this point of like, for those that feel very displaced, there's likely your faith needs to be put in a different place. If you don't like the sensation and you don't want to experience it again. Plenty of people love the sensation of having the rug pulled out from under them because that's something to rail against. It's something to push against. It's something to say you're against, and it feeds a sense of self and a sense of identity. So not everyone is going to hate the rug being pulled out from under them. Many people will feel like it's a gorgeous challenge, and they've been having the rug pulled out from under them since the beginning of time, and they love it. They love that feeling. There's not one way to live. You can have that reaction, or you can say like, I see many people on the ground being like, I'm so sick of this happening. And this call of the Aquarian is sort of like, you don't want this to happen again? Come with me. It's sort of this like, again, this Pied Piper sense of like, I can show you a different way to live. And this different way to live is extremely different than how we've been living the past 20 or so years. It even feels bigger than that. They're making me feel like this change is vastly important. They're showing me as like a moment in time that will always be remembered, and always be remembered not by just people on Earth, like always be remembered by everyone in the universe. It's almost, I feel very much that spirit is everyone is watching. It's like they're eating popcorn to us right now, sort of watching this shift take place. Anything else need to be seen or need to step forward to help us reorient our weeks? So like focus on the physical health of the body, and even though it is winter, you know, making sure that the body is supported and fed and rested. Techniques to relax, and basically like they're throwing out all the stops. Like, is it a spa? Is it a massage? Like, what will it take for you to bring the body calm? Because that's really what's being called for here. It's just like you using the knowledge of yourself that you've developed and being like, you know what, when I feel this way, I'm going to go for a walk. Or when I feel this way, I'm going to go to the spa. When I feel this way, I'm going to get a pedicure or call a friend. Or they're like, use, you know, these aren't coping techniques. This is life technique. It's a life technique to understand how to spin yourself up into a better state of being and a better state of acceptance for what's the changes that are going on. Because even people who feel they are very deeply seated in themselves will still be unnerved by the changes happening, because they will be unnerving. They're intended to be unnerving. but it's trending in the right direction. It's trending in the direction of wholeness, right? And support for all of humanity, and not only for a few who have done very well for themselves, or who have inherited a lot of money, or who have amassed a lot of power. And here comes the hardest message. I doubt anyone receiving this message will be in this population. And the reason I say that is because the people who are the most comfortable with being in power, and the people who are most comfortable with lording things over people, having lots of resources for themselves, will feel the impact keenly. Keenly. I cannot emphasize that enough. And I'm getting a very how hard is it for a rich man to get to heaven, as hard as it is for a camel to go through an eye of a needle, like that great parable that Jesus was saying. Because when you are so wrapped up in the material world, and your wealth in the material world, your health, your status, when changes are made to benefit not an individual, Capricorn, but the whole, like the work you did as an individual for Capricorn is going to begin to transition into how can we then do for our country what we've done for ourselves. It feels very much like that. And this is a theme I've felt through all of these weekly channels. The difference between ask not what you can do for basically what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country. It's like that's the difference between Capricorn and Aquarius. That it's that very transition. So if you have been in any element or any part of your life responsible, placed in a leadership role, have a lot of power, have a lot of money, this is the time to really take stock and ensure that your identity is not wrapped up in these things, because it's just showing a lot of water moving, like a lot of change is happening. And it doesn't mean that it's going to all be taken from you. It's going to mean that there's a sense of, again, it's all about consciousness with Aquarius. It's a mental sign, right? Air is a mental sign, right? It is an air sign. And it's just going to feel like things are scattered and people don't do what I say the way they used to. They're pushing back, all these things. And people are really going to rail hard against that, because their sense of self is wedded in do what I tell you to do. Like if the king says it shall be done, why not say it is? That type of vibe. Very interesting energies. Okay, so that is your weekly channel for this week on this beautiful MLK day. The energy of this day is just one of service. I can't think of a better day to celebrate the shift into Aquarius and the value and emphasis on humanity as a whole. If you can't be good, be careful, and I will talk to you next week.